So in February of 2024, we called Madame Web the worst comic book movie ever made, and I stood by that up until yesterday.
Boy, does Madame Web look real good now.
I would rewatch Madame Web rather than watch this. I've actually rewatched Madame Web twice, I think.
Really?
Because it's so stupid.
Because Sydney Sweeney's in it.
She helps.
As an underage girl. Gotcha.
The main problem with this one is that it's not even funny.
In my mind, Madame Web was safe because Joker overthrew it as the worst.
Well, people were personally offended by Joker 2.
But then this movie comes out now, and I don't know what I want to give my worst movie of the year to.
They've made it hard, for sure.
They've made it very tricky.
2024 is crazy.
At least Madame Web kept me like glued to the edge of my seat because I'm like, what are they going to do next? This movie had me like, what are they going to do next? Like, I was so bored.
Yeah.
Were you bored? Like that middle 45 minutes?
Yeah, basically, it starts off really strong. We're playing it back
Strong.
here. The first 8 minutes.
No wonder they released this first 8 minutes because I'm like, okay, we're going somewhere.
It seems like such an easy movie to make, even though it's Sony and they fuck everything up. But he seemed comfortable in the interviews and stuff. He's like, this is going to be gory. It's going to be great. Mm-hmm. And the first 8 minutes while we were watching in cinemas stood by that. Like, people died pretty viciously. He was doing some cool shit. The CGI was pretty iffy, but all CGI somehow is garbage nowadays. Yeah. And then at the 15-20 minute mark, they just decide to flash back to his childhood for 45 minutes. And it's so boring.
I don't understand. This first 8 minutes, like this scene right here, he goes and he meets his new, like, prison roomie. It wasn't trying to be intentionally funny, but like was like bringing a bit of a smile to my face.
It's like charming.
It's charming, and he's like, "Can I sit with you at lunch?" And his roommate's like, "No."
Yep.
I'm like, okay, if this continues on this, then this is going to be good. But then it just changes tone so quickly. You get flashbacks for 30 minutes.
I think it's 45, but yeah, yeah.
Oh, 45 minutes. You get like horrible dialogue between characters, horrible character development. There is no character development.
Kraven does not change throughout this movie.
Kraven doesn't change. I don't give a fuck about his brother. I don't care about the lawyer. Look, and the only thing is, I feel Aaron Taylor Johnson, if you're watching this, he's sleeping with those daughters. He was good in this movie.
He was good. Russell Crowe was good.
Russell Crowe was good. He did a better accent than he did in Thor 4.
Yes, I was like, oh god, he's going to try to do Russian. It's just going to come across as like weirdly Greek again.
I'm like, oh, he's just going to play like a neighbor that he had back in like when he was growing up in. Like, I'm like, Russell Crowe is kind of enjoyable. I'm like, I believe him as this like asshole, like, you know, mobster
and he's
dad.
built like a bear nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, he's a huge boy. He's built like grizzly bear. So we'll go through the story, I guess, what there is. So yeah, first 8 minutes, he goes on a hunt. He goes on a cool kill. And he's basically, in this movie, he's the Green Arrow. If you've ever watched Arrow, I talk about CW Arrow way too much on this show.
Kraven literally goes, you failed this city. And then he'll just kill him with an animal-related thing.
No, he kills them with a crossbow and then crosses them off a list. I'm like, this is Arrow. You're killing rich people that do bad things. Because obviously he can't be a bad guy.
Because yeah, you're making a movie about him.
He's a Spider-Man bad guy.
Ooh,
he's a
also,
bad guy for a reason.
Honorable mention to Venom 3. I forgot to mention that in the intro.
What the fuck, 2024? All made by Sony. They released 3 absolute stinkers.
This movie, I think it had a lot to live up to because Spider-Man 2, the game, came out recently and that had Kraven.
It had a great Kraven.
That was people's introduction to Kraven.
It was the only good part of that game.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. I'm like, this guy's really cool. But then this one obviously has to play a different kind of Kraven.
Yeah.
This is my sad emo boy, you know, I'm running away from home, Dad.
But only halfway through, like at the start, yeah, he's like so self-assured. But it seemed like a slam dunk of a movie. If you gave me this script, I would just do John Wick. But he has a little bit of animal superpower
and put him in the jungle more.
Kills poachers. Because the kills in this movie are cool. What they always do is they pre-visualize a bunch of fight scenes for a movie. They did it with Black Widow. Like, the Black Widow director basically barely directed Black Widow because so much of that movie was just like fight scene, a little bit of shit, fight scene, little bit of shit, fight scene. And all that stuff is pre-planned months before they even pick a director, which is a shitty, stupid way to make a movie.
Yeah.
But this ended up having really cool fight scenes. There's something near the end where he's killing a bunch of people in the jungle and he drags a guy by the legs either side of a big razor blade and just splits him down the middle.
But it's like, where did that come from?
And like half an hour before that, it's just two people standing in a room talking and like about not even their feelings, they're talking about their backstory.
It has a really bad case of dialogue, jump to here.
Jump to pre-rendered cutscene. Like, they don't even glue those fight scenes very well together because it really is so, it goes slow, bang, slow, bang. Like, you could keep up a little bit of the momentum, but I don't know. The guy that wrote this, what did he do? He did Men in Black International and like a bunch of other stinkers. How does this man get work?
He did Transformers
The Last Night.
This
movie almost makes me angrier than Madame Web because Madame Web was always shit. Like, Madame Web wasn't ruined in the edit or anything. Like, really no part of Madame Web is good.
Yeah.
But because of the fight scenes in this movie and because Aaron Taylor Johnson's physicality, like, he put so much into this movie. And Russell Crowe did quite well. I also didn't mind the brother as far as, like, what he had to be. But the way they use all of these elements is just absolute shit.
He is weak, like his mother.
But, yeah, so it's a hard cut to the past.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's on the plane. And then while he's on the plane, that's when you get your first 45 minutes.
You get a 45-minute loading screen, which must have been the initial start of the movie. It's literally his origin story from when he's a boy.
Yeah.
You hard cut back to his childhood, and then they're like, Kravinoff and Kravinoff. They're at this New York boarding school. And that's the first crazy thing about this movie. Aaron Taylor Johnson's Russian accent comes and goes so often. He's very Russian for the first 8 minutes. At the very end of when he's talking to his pilot before he leaves, he literally goes, and then I'm gonna, I don't know what accent that was, but I don't know what he was doing. He was kind of doing New York, but he just goes American, which is weird because he's a British person in real life.
In the words of Kraven, Dobro vechi, tovarashi. Podpiši, pожалуйста, na moj kanal.
So he could just be doing a British accent, but this boarding school that they've set him at in the previously on is in New York.
Yep.
Is this to explain why his accent's so shit? Could he not hold the accent? Or did Aaron Taylor Johnson get the script, read that he was born in Russia, grew up in London and New York, and in his like actor brain was like, I'm going to make a really creative choice here and blend between these three accents. That is a cool idea. But in execution, it just comes across like he can't hold that accent at all. So like mid-sentence, he'll go like full Yuri. And the next second, he's like, I am walking here.
He probably thought of it, thought it was a great idea, went to the director and went, what do you think? And the director said, sorry, who are you?
That's what I mean. Like, I don't know why it happened, but it did.
This guy's snorting lines and making 9s on Rotten Tomatoes. Making 9%.
That means there are people out there that like actual reviewers have said like fresh, like at least 1 or 2 people must have said good.
This isn't even like a switch your brain off, enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
This movie was fucking dog shit.
They get into the car with Dad and Dad says, your weak mother died. So we immediately at least get that Russell Crowe's like a bad dude.
He's just like an old school Russian hard ass.
Yeah, definitely some kind of mob boss at the very least. And he's like, the older kid is like, is that because you sent her away? So like, there's friction between the family.
But he's like, why would you care? He's like, you haven't seen it for 2 years, so nothing has changed for you anyway.
Yeah.
I think there's another cut of this movie where the mum was in it a lot more.
Instead of just the flashbacks.
Yeah. The one flashback of her in like a insane asylum, like doing this.
Yeah, which he wouldn't have seen, so it's weird that we've now seen it. Basically, Mr. Kravinoff.
Please, Mr. Kravinoff is my dad.
So Russell Crowe says, your mum died, I'm going to take you on safari to make you a hard man again. They vaguely mention around a campfire that
there's a mythical beast.
Yeah, Russell Crowe wants to kill a big lion.
If you kill legend, you become legend.
Sergei says, if you were really a legend, you'd only kill with what God gave you. You'd mano a mano. You'd fight him on even terrain instead of using a gun.
That's what an idiot would say.
It's a cool line, but it's funny coming from like this little boy. And then he uses weapons throughout the movie. It's not like he bare knuckle brawls or like adds claws or something.
Yeah.
He immediately starts using bows, guns, and like weapons. So I was like, how is this?
He bites a guy's head off or nose off at one point.
He does kill a man by biting his nose off. Then we cut to the little girl, Calypso, who, if you know the comics, he's his future wife. But for us, she's just this little girl, just randomly in Ghana.
With like a UK British accent.
She's like, yes, my 2 British lawyer parents have brought me to Ghana to hang out with my grandma, who is, she's a witch woman. She's a shaman woman.
You better hold on to this magic revive water now, girl. It's the secret of our family.
A scene before she uses it, she literally gives her 3 tarot cards and says, a man fighting a lion, there's going to be an injury, and it's going to rebirth him. And it's like, we get it. That's the plot. You don't have to do this. And then she's like, yes, hold this magic health potion. Remember, don't tell your parents you have it. Literally the next scene, Sergey and Dmitri get attacked by this lion. They go into the fact that it's never been seen. Like, it's killed a bunch of men, but no one's ever actually seen it.
It's killed 2,000 to 3,000 people.
That's what he says.
The African tour guy's like, it's killed 2,000, maybe 3,000 people,
Jesus
or maybe
Christ.
Russell Crowe says that. But I'm like, what?
That's so... And he's like, no one's ever seen it.
It's killing one person a day for 10 years? You're crazy.
This lion pops out just behind him. Like, Dmitri is literally like, Sergey, behind you, and turns around, and the lion's just kind of like standing there, like, go.
Yeah.
He's like slowly walking. So they're like having a little face off. They have a moment where they stare into each other's eyes, which means nothing currently because he's not magic.
He's going to already have the magic.
Yeah.
He fucking gets like attacked. He gets revenanted. It's like the scene from Revenant. Leo DiCaprio is getting attacked by the bear.
Oh, yeah.
But he's
like,
getting attacked.
slammed up and down.
Yeah, I'm like, oh God.
This lion that no one's ever seen and is super good at killing people can barely take down this one kid. And then Russell Crowe notices and starts taking shots at the lion. And the lion's like, oh, fuck. All right, I'll leave. Doesn't kill the boy. Doesn't leave the boy. Takes Kraven with him. And then drops him on the floor.
In front of
Little Safari Girl.
who's ran away from her parents on safari.
For no reason. Like, she just decided...
She feels it.
She has magic wizard woman powers. And then some of the lion's blood drops into one of Kraven's holes in
the
him.
worst CG little like... It looks like Spider-Man in
exactly
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
When like the drop of blood. It's the same. They're like, oh, we'll just use that again.
They thought that was clever, though, because they're like... It's like the DNA rearranging.
Back
and then
to formula.
The woman finds them, gives them the super soldier serum. This super soldier serum heals him eventually. And then we still have so much time after this. Like, most of the stuff that happens in the movie feels like it happens in this random 45-minute flashback that must have been the first 45 minutes of the movie. Because then we get the montage of him learning his powers. He, like, closes the door too hard. He literally does Spider-Man 1.
He falls off the roof and lands, like, perfectly like a cat.
And then decides, I hate you, Dad. I'm going to run away. Doesn't take his brother with him because obviously that would make the story wrong. Like, we can't have that happen. There's no reason not to take the brother. He just doesn't. And then survives in the wild of Russian jungle, I guess, which I didn't know existed, but maybe Russia's huge.
It's a big place.
Yeah, it could exist. We then flash forward to him getting off the plane that he was on. And it's like, that's not... Like, what? And with that plane, he gets on the plane because it's like a friend. And he's like, hey, friend. They don't turn around completely. They're just like, hey...
You're late.
As he gets off the plane, he's like, thanks for your help. And then he's like,
Anytime.
And I'm like,
It's a woman.
Yeah, I thought she was going to be a character.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be the woman that replaced the pedophile in Army of the Dead.
Yes.
Like, I thought it would be her because she's like got
Alleged
short.
pedophile. Where are my Crystalia fans at?
And she has those two lines that are probably ADR'd, but never says anything again.
Man, the ADR in this movie was horrible.
They
There are
Madame
scenes
Webbed
where
it.
they show someone. It was the mum, the grandma, and the little girl at the start when you see it first. And the grandma is speaking, and her character is just doing this.
They got so much coverage when they shot this movie. Like, they got so many wide angles that they used all of them. Because, like, normally in a movie, you would do the close-ups between the two of us to see that we're talking and then, like, to show our emotions. But instead, a lot of the conversations in this movie are shot on the wide so that you can't tell their mouths are wrong. But, you know it feels weird.
And there may or may not be a scene in there where they CG...
Change her lips.
Change her lips.
Dead set it looks like it. I'll try to find
There's
the clip
just
of
interesting
Thingo.
creases around her mouth
And it's
that
too
make
fluid.
it look... Yeah.
It's like smooth, which is something that would happen. Why did they Madame Web it? So what was the original plot? Was it something... It can't have been too different because, like, with Madame Web, they do some really crazy things where, like, they change the villain's whole motivation in that movie. Whereas in this, it feels like nothing changed dramatically. Like, they delayed it by over a year, apparently.
Really?
And, yeah, it was meant to come out last year. So it should have come out before Madame Web. It doesn't feel like they changed the plot too much by making people say different things, which is why I'm confused about why they said different things. Because with Madame Web, it's dead set. They changed half that movie. And with this one, I'm like, I can't really see any other movie that they would have done that's this bad. Like, if you were to change this movie, you would end up making it better. Even accidentally. If you cut out that 45 minutes of him as a kid, I get it. He's got some superpowers and he's like running around. He's like fucking mystical shaman, probably did something to him.
Even if you just show the start of the flashback where he's like, no, I'm taking him home with me from the hospital. And then you just cut to him being an adult. And they're like, okay, I get it from there. You don't have to show him escaping.
One quick cut of him getting shit kicked by a lion. And then you're like, oh, obviously you survived that. I don't know. I didn't need 45 minutes of that. That would have sped up the movie dramatically, and I probably wouldn't have wanted to like myself nearly as much, because it would have been more fight scenes. Because there are no fight scenes in that 45 minutes because he's a kid, and you can't have ultra violent fight scenes when he's a kid for obvious reasons. So that really is just 45 minutes of like bad dialogue and bad motivations. It's so shit. So once we flash forward again,
he gets a list of bad people.
Oh yeah, almost immediately.
Almost immediately.
Which is why it feels like that's what he should have done earlier, instead of like, yeah, waiting 45 minutes and then suddenly he's like, yes, back to the action.
His list crossing gets interrupted by it's his brother's birthday. He's like, we're going to spend the night together. And it's like, okay. But then also while Kraven is like, you know, either killing people or hanging out with his brother, who don't even get me started on the, we got to show his brother doing all the voices really well so that we know that he's XYZ.
Yeah, we're going to spoil this because we're spoiling the whole fucking movie anyway. But his brother is Chameleon. You would know that if you played Spider-Man 2 game or have read some comics. But I think they introduce it kind of cool in the flashback. His brother imitates their dad, which is like something that you would do if your dad sounded like Grizzly Russell Crowe, you'd probably imitate him at some point.
It was good when it was on the nose, like imitating the dad to make fun of him. Oh, he doesn't really have like he's not in the business, but his dad bought him a club where he just sings every night and he mimics people's voices.
He does covers, but perfectly.
Yeah, that would be a good way to show us. But then literally being like, he is like Chameleon, no? And then at the end being like, I'm a chameleon, you see? And it's like,
and then they literally show him do the chameleon face, and it's like, no, we got it, my guy. He's like, I'm a villain now.
While this is happening, there is a weird power vacuum.
Because of that first 8 minutes where he kills someone.
Yes, so the Rhino needs to fill the power vacuum by being the leader of, you know, whatever this dead guy's operation.
And the Rhino has a moment in the flashback where he's Jamie Foxx from Amazing Spider-Man 2, where his hair's shit.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Mr. Kravenoff, I want to do business with you. And he's like, get away, you are weak.
You are a weak man, because he's dying.
I didn't mind the guy because it seemed like he was having fun with it.
He camped it up a lot. Russell Crowe and Aaron Taylor-Johnson were playing it like they were in this hardcore, cool as fuck movie. Whereas it's like this guy saw the final cut and was like, oh, this movie's fucking stupid. Yeah, let's do this. I like his power-ish.
His power is like, it's always on, and it's like a Green Goblin disease. He has this like debilitating disease.
Yeah. I liked the reversal there, that it wasn't he got a super... I thought it was going to be...
It's reverse Bane?
Yes. I thought it was going to be he got injected with the super soldier serum because he wanted a cure, and that's when he goes after Kraven, finds the cure, because Girly even has another cure. She has like another vial of magic juice. So I'm like, okay, it's going to be super cliche. It's literally Spider-Man 2. It's going to be Harry Osborn being like, I need Spider-Man's blood. And then he gets Spider-Man's blood, and then he becomes...
Or even just do it like Rhino is after this cure that he knows is somewhere in Ghana. There's like these keepers of the cure.
Yeah.
And so
Kraven has
he's
to
literally
protect
going
them.
through, burning down forests, killing people, murdering animals, and then Kraven has to defend the land.
Yeah, that almost sounds more like a Kraven movie, to be honest. Like, there's a special white rhino that he has to kill that white rhino and take its DNA.
Kraven lives on like the preserve. He like protects this.
That would have been a Kraven movie.
Make him like a crazy animal protector.
It's the opposite of that. He's already had the surgery that made him into the Rhino, and now he's using like a preventative. They don't use the preventative the way I thought they would, where like someone would break it for him. Instead, he willfully turns into the Rhino. I thought it would be an accident or something bad would happen. Because it's the opposite of Bane. With Bane, you take out Bane by breaking his backpack. With this guy, he could be hand-to-hand fighting, then you break his backpack, and then he like levels up, and you're like, oh shit, Frieza V2? Like... This is crazy. Like, that feels like where that should have gone, but they didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? The fight with him does look like dog shit because it's Aaron Taylor-Johnson shadowboxing with this, like, CGI monstrosity.
Yeah.
Cover a guy in rocks. Like, do the Thing from original Fantastic Four. Like, anything would have been better than this. Sandman looks better than fucking Spider-Man. How can Spider-Man look good?
But also, he doesn't look like the same actor.
But it wasn't good enough, so it does look wrong still.
But then when he turns into the Rhino for the final fight, he's rushing the entire time. He turns to the Rhino and goes, Kraven! And I'm like, sorry? I'm like, he's Russian.
He has a Rhino accent. That fight that you're talking about is the only time we see him turn into the Rhino full proper. And it's also the first time that they fight.
There's no like first fight, he gets beaten down.
I'm writing Spider-Man 1 here. Oh, out, am I? Kills all the people. Spider-Man has to fight the Green Goblin, gets fucked up, and he's like, oh my god, this sucked. And then later on, he captures Mary Jane, and then they have to fight again. But he doesn't even meet him as a human.
He speaks to him on the phone for 10 seconds.
In the last 20 minutes, which is insane.
Just before the fight. Like, literally just before the fight.
And the reason that happens is because they bring in another villain randomly to be the underling.
Don't get me started. That was going to be my honorable mention. The foreigner who maybe has time stop powers.
Maybe is a hypnotist with just his eyes. I'm unsure if it's an inherent power.
Yeah.
Or whether it's something he's doing on purpose, because sunglasses stop it. And then he counts for some reason, I guess so that we know that time is moving, but their people aren't moving. He's like Professor X's people.
It's literally unsheaths katana, teleports behind you, nothing personal, kid.
Yeah.
That's his power.
And that's all he does with it. Like, he doesn't do anything interesting with it. He literally time stops.
He just uses it to teleport behind people.
His stepsister must be so pissed. But he doesn't need to be there either.
You could have made the Rhino in human form that character.
Yeah, and then he gets broken.
That way you make him a bit of a badass, and he fights Kraven in that form, and Kraven's like, that's how I'm going to get him. Hits the thing, and then he's like, uh-oh. He can do like a, what have you done?
Yeah, he thinks it's the reason he's strong, but it's like, oh.
It's like, I was holding him back, you know?
He's like, oh, that's what's keeping him alive. He's Bane. Knocks that out, and he's like, this is painful to me, so I'm annoyed you did this, but also now it's really easy for me to kill you because I'm Rhino now. But yeah, so the foreigner is just there, and they also try to give the foreigner a backstory with Kraven, but all that amounts to is he basically goes, he killed my best friend. Maybe. I think it was him. Like, it's not confirmed. He's just like, someone killed my brother. I think it was Kraven. I'm going to kill Kraven.
Yeah. Another also confusing part is when he gets the USB, or sorry, his henchman is like, someone slid this USB under my door, and then it's like just videos of Aaron Taylor Johnson, and it says Kraven the Hunter, and it's like
Kraven, aka the Hunter. It's literally the first 8 minutes.
But before that, Aaron Taylor Johnson says, no one who's heard my name or has seen my face knows that I'm the Hunter. Everyone's always died.
Because he's talking to Calypso at that point, and he's literally like, yeah, they call me Kraven, but anyone that's ever said that name has died. And it's like, so you gave yourself the nickname Kraven?
Well, he's like Kraven, but with a K. Like, he makes a point of that. I was
that's
like,
the thing. He gave himself a nickname and then killed anybody that found out that was his nickname.
Everyone laughs at him.
Because everyone else calls him the Hunter. And then, yeah, that USB literally says Kraven, aka the Hunter. Running it through my head, I'm like, but no, we've already established that you can't, no one can know that. Everyone says, oh, he's the Hunter. Like, when they see that screen, they don't say, oh, Kraven. They say, he's the Hunter, because that's the big ominous name. Like,
Hunter is a myth, the first guy he kills says.
Yeah, which is also really stupid. Like, a guy could be killing people.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like, that assassin isn't real. The foreigner exists.
Who gave him the name the Hunter? Did he give it to himself? And if he did, everyone's dead who would use it.
Because the Hunter is cool, but also the way he kills people, we don't know. Like, no one knows he hunted them.
Yeah.
How do they know he's a hunter? It's stupid all around. But everyone looking at that monitor that says, oh, that's the Hunter, it can't be. I didn't know that. So that means whoever did the VFX to make that screen did Kraven, aka the Hunter, and no one picked up on that.
Yeah, Russell Crowe. Because we find out that Russell Crowe did it in the end.
In the end, we find out
Yeah,
that.
so he's the one who made that and added that fun little title for him.
But that's another Madame Web feature where it's like, yeah, they changed what was on the screens to confuse you. Where in Madame Web, how they were like, age those girls from my dreams down in reverse. I'm going to describe them to you, and then you're going to make them younger.
Oh
if
my
I could
God.
describe you, I could probably describe you younger. I don't need a computer program to make you
luck.
younger. I don't know. It's enough about Madame Web. Funny, stupid movie.
This movie was very bad.
So Calypso, the safari girl from when he's young that saved his life, he finds her again when she's an adult, and they literally go sit on a park bench like in 500 Days of Summer. But they don't bond.
But it's
like
worse than that.
people.
It's after her best friend's funeral who got killed investigating a mobster. And then Kraven's like, no, I killed that mobster to say thank you to you.
I owed you one. They literally sit on the bench and she goes through her backstory and tells him why she saved him. Like, I think she's even one point, she's like, you're the boy.
Because he gives her the card.
Yeah. Oh, because she gave him one of the tarot
put it in
cards
his
when she was
pocket.
a kid. And then the hospital was like, yeah, he needs this back for sure.
Your Pokemon card. Your Hollow Mewtwo.
Along with this vial that had a little bit of serum left because he's been trying to replicate that serum. But she knows how to make it.
Also, there's a hospital in Ghana that's like, what medicine is this? This boy was mauled by a lion and now he is a Superman.
But Calypso has that. She knows how to make it. She has more of that serum. Cancer exists. She's just willfully not using it.
She's God.
She's literally like,
sorry.
I could save you.
Why does God make hurricanes?
You're a bit of a sinner. I might not help you out here, buddy. So she could be saving people and she's choosing not to.
Yeah.
And it feels like they should have made her a doctor and have her be the best doctor ever. Because like some people that really deserve it, she makes this special potion for and saves their life. But instead she's a fucking lawyer.
They could have made her a doctor who works in villages.
They could at least make it hard to do. Like, sure, make it really hard to make this serum. And that's why she doesn't make a shit ton of it and save the world. Like, it takes a year to prepare or something, so she always keeps one. But never brought up. We can assume that, I guess. But then, fucking why? Like, yeah, make her work in Ghana, and that's how he's protecting animals. Anything but what they did.
Make it that the Rhino's trying to track her down because he's making it, and that's why he has to constantly be pumping it into himself. Because he has like an imperfect version. You see like multiple bags, and he's always wearing like a stylish,
and that's why he's turning
backpack.
But instead, they say that he went through Miles Warren, who is he's another Dr. Octopus, basically. He's one of those mad scientists that did something. Like every Spider-Man villain is a mad scientist that turns into an animal.
It's a big wheel!
Which is how at the end, Chameleon is like, I went to a special doctor and got my face changed. And it's like, okay, my guy, that's a weird thing to do.
And a finger.
Yes, and he got a free finger out of it because most of the plot, the ending of the movie, we've just spent like 20 minutes talking about dumb things that happen.
No one cares. No one's seen this movie.
The brother gets kidnapped, and that's how they make them fight, because the brother gets kidnapped by the Rhino, and then Kraven has to go kill them. He kills the secondary bad guy, the foreigner. Well, he doesn't. He fights the secondary bad guy, the foreigner, for the first time in the last 20 minutes, and then he immediately goes and fights Rhino. So there was no point having these two separate bad guys. He doesn't kill one halfway through, and then Rhino is revealed as the big bad. He's not John Wicking his way through a bunch of guys, always knowing this is the end guy.
And you know what's crazy? Is that the stranger, the assassin,
The foreigner
is about to kill him.
Yeah.
He's like, I've shot him with this magic juice that will show him his deepest, darkest fear.
Which is apparently going crazy like his mum.
And then we'll just kill him. And then he gets saved by Calypso again. And then she's like, well, time to use the vial of juice again. It's like, you're going to just fucking MacGuffin him again?
Yep. And the reason she can kill the foreigner is because 10 minutes earlier, she holds a bow and says, I'm actually really good at bows.
I went to summer camp.
And it feels like such a Kraven 2, like the Huntress spin-off level of like, that's what they're setting up. Because she shoots him in the face with a bow
like
and arrow.
An eye, in the eye, bullseye.
Because I guess he uses his eyes. Like that. That's the irony there.
Yeah.
Like,
the irony.
Oh.
But then, yes, then he goes and just fights the Rhino.
Nothing interesting. They literally just, the Rhino goes, oh, this is going to be a tough fight. I better go Super Saiyan. And then he actually gets a horn, which is hilarious.
He gets like two little like weird mini
like
horns.
he gets rhino horns, which is which would make sense if he magicked from a big white rhino that's basically the lion version of a rhino, like the big magical lion, the big magical rhino. He kills the rhino, steals its blood, and makes a potion out of Ghana girl fluid. That's a sensical story as to why he looks like a rhino. Not he went to some doctor in New York who tried to make him stronger, accidentally gave him rock skin and horns.
Yes. And it really hurts him.
Yes, and it fucking sucked.
He's like...
And off screen, that happened. And then he discovered a cure to that off screen, which is why he needs the backpack. But he's always had the chronic disease, and he's still coughing randomly to show us he's the same guy. It's so confusing.
Yeah. But then in the end, Kraven kills his dad. He tracks his dad down. He's like, you are the one who was setting me up the whole time.
He reveals it and he's like, it was clever plan.
A surprise, we're going to be a family. And then he just sicks a bear on him and like takes the ammo out of his guns.
Because of the mano a mano thing, how he's like, to become a legend, you have to fight him with your hands.
Doesn't fight anything with his hands.
Nope, dies.
Fights a bobcat, I think. And then he's like, finally, it's time for my annual trip to see my brother. And then he goes to the club and his brother's like freaking
doing
Paulie
dad
from
stuff.
Goodfellas. He's Michael from The Godfather. And he's like, when he's finally leaned into it and he's like having meetings with people, it's like,
out of nowhere. He also says, I went through hell. And he's like, that's why I've become a crime lord.
Yeah.
He got kidnapped, got jabbed in the neck, went to sleep, woke up, was eating cereal, found out his brother was Kraven. The Rhino's like, I don't like your dad, but we could be friends. The Kravenov name's still pretty big. And the kid's like, I'll never betray my family. And Rhino's like, oh, that sucks. Does nothing, doesn't torture him.
That was such a boring scene,
They
by the
cut
way.
his finger off screen and apologizes for that. So, like, the kid didn't really go through hell. He had, like, one hell of a day. He wasn't, like, tortured for hours on end. And, like, he lost a finger. That sucks. I get that. That does suck. But this doesn't turn you into a crime lord after finding out that crime is bad and you've always been a little sissy. Like, that's not the
That's
evolution.
who he always wanted to be.
He
And
wanted to
becoming
be
the
dad.
chameleon finally gave him the courage.
If he pretended to be his dad and like we thought his dad got out of it alive and then he did the Loki thing, how at the end of the movie it
Yes.
fades from Russell Crowe to the son's face, that would have been a big reveal and made me go, whoa. Instead they do this super weird CGI where Dimitri puts on Kraven's face.
On his little twink body as well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ew!
In 2010, how did Captain America make that look good?
Yeah.
Whereas they can't do it here. They made that look good on Captain America when he's shirtless. Whereas this kid had like a neckline. All they have to do is take one face,
They give him a beard as well, though. But that
which
should
just
help.
covers it more. Yeah, like it should be the easiest thing in the world, but they fuck it
Yeah,
up
it's
so
very
bad.
weird. And then they just like go their separate ways.
Yeah, there's no setup for a second one, and apparently there won't be a second one because Sony's apparently killed
Sony's
it.
dead.
Which is strange because like at what point did Sony realize this was bad? Was it after Morbius when everyone hated it? Was it after Morbius when they brought it back in cinemas and everyone hated it? Was it after Madame Web and everyone hated it?
Was after the 3 Venom movies, which even though the first one was probably the best of every Sony movie ever,
Oh, yeah, probably.
or of this new kind of era,
of the villain era.
they got progressively worse, and the newest one was the absolute worst movie ever. Maybe
If you want a good Venom, just watch Upgrade. It's the better version of Venom.
with discount Tom Hardy.
Yeah, literally, guy looks like Tom Hardy.
There's just set up for Kraven becoming the character of Kraven. He goes and his dad left him one final gift. It was the Kraven kind of lion,
Yeah,
like, you know, jumper.
trailer.
And then he does the Kraven comic book pose where he's sitting on a chair.
he looks sick as fuck.
Do you know, I'll give it to him. Aaron Taylor Johnson's like 3% body fat for that whole movie.
But it's so funny because I just remembered they followed the trope of character gets their iconic outfit at the very ending of the movie, which is exactly what happens in Uncharted. And all Uncharted's iconic uniform is a white shirt, chinos, and the
Bandoleros,
holster. Yeah.
Which also this guy wrote.
That was what I was going to bring up. Yeah, this guy wrote Uncharted, so he's literally just copying himself at this point.
If you like this movie, rank the Sonyverse, yeah.
So you got Venom 1, 2, 3, Morbius, Madame Web, Kraven. Where do you put those? You be the judge.
You rank.
I'll put mine here.
I'll put mine here.
Do you agree? Oh yeah, the reveal that he wasn't a prisoner. Something like that. I don't care.
I'm like, okay.
I figured he either did a crime to get arrested.
Yeah, I didn't need you guys to go into the backstory of that.
Yeah, he had to kill someone, take their identity, and everyone was like, yeah, you look enough like that guy that I've seen before, probably.
Oh, you have the same neck tattoo.
Yeah, like he got off the bus to pee. He waited for this guy to walk out the back. What the fuck?